Hello there, Ray here, and today I will be showing you a simple sand generator that I built. This sand generator is capable of producing up to 48,000 items per hour, and it will be able to duplicate normal sand, red sand, as well as gravel. And if it's on a server, it's capable of being able to run 24/7, even with players offline. The way that the sand generator is working is that the blocks are actually being duplicated. The way that they're being duplicated is based off of the concept of Casper 2002 and Panda 4994, where the blocks are being dropped in as a falling block. So if we press F3 and B, we can pull up the hitboxes. You can see the sand when it's becoming an entity as it's falling. You can actually see the hitbox there. And the sand is being pushed over in this direction. And when the sand is a falling entity, it partly falls inside of this exit portal, which allows it to be teleported over into the end dimension. Now the sand block, as it's falling as a falling block, also lands on top of this slime block here, and it will become a block itself. So the entity gets taken over into the end, where the block ends up staying here on top of this piston. Then the piston, all it does, it just pushes the sand closer to this piston, which then grabs it with its sticky block, then pulls it over where it's hanging over in mid-air. Then it gets picked up by these sticky pistons over here, and it'll be lifted up for a short moment. But then the piston itself can actually hold it up because they are falling blocks, and the falling blocks will fall down if there's not a block underneath them. So then the sand will fall down. Then this piston extends with a slime block on it and will push it in as it falls as a falling block entity. Then the whole process repeats. By doing this, you can use a single block of sand or gravel, and you can actually have it being duplicated over into the end dimension. So if we just go over and through the entrance end portal, we will be taken over into the end dimension, and we will appear on this obsidian platform that the player appears on. But you can see that the sand also appears here. It comes down as an entity form. You can see how it's an entity. Then it'll just appear as a block. Now if it happens to be that the entire space where the block wants to be placed is filled up, you can see all this is filled up, then the sand will just break off as items, and that's why we have all these items sitting around. But you can see that sand is actually duplicating as a block, or you can have the sand being duplicated as an item. So in the end dimension, there's also exit portals, which are part of the exit end portal, which are lit up after you kill the ender dragon. But you can see that the sand generator works the same way with these portals. It will drop the sand in, and it'll be duplicated, and these blocks over here will be taken to the world spawn point. So if you go into the portal itself, after the credits, you will go to your bed or else spawn. Now you can see right here, this is where world spawn point at, and currently the sands is just keep coming out of the sand generator, and it's being placed over here at the world spawn point, which is right here. But you can see that since the sand was pushed in with momentum, it continues to keep its momentum, and that's why it's getting moved over in this direction. So to build a sand generator, it's pretty simple. You can see there's just some redstone, as well as some repeaters, some torches, and some more repeaters, some slime blocks, as well as some sticky pistons, and your choice of between red, normal sand, and gravel. Now you have to decide if you want to build your sand generator at your entrance end portal or your exit end portal. That's your exit end portal over there. Now, the easiest is probably to build it at your entrance end portal, since you have a lot of these in your world versus only one of these with your exit end portal, and it also regenerates, and you have to deal with the dragon as well. So the hardest part about this is just removing these frames right here that frame in the entrance end portal. And to do this, there is a really neat trick that was shown by Coolman, where you can actually use a red mushroom to remove this front frame blocks right here. And all you have to do is plant a mushroom down below. You can see how far it got down below. It's just about 1, 2, 3 meters underneath and a meter over. And once you have planted the red mushroom, you'll typically be underground, so you don't have to worry about the blocking out the sunlight. And once you have grown the mushroom itself will actually remove this front frame right here. And once the mushroom has removed the frame, you just come in and build your sand generator. If you want to build a sand generator at your exit end portal, you can do that as well. All you have to do is remove some of this bedrock here. To remove this bedrock, all you have to do is come in and put it in a obsidian block here. Place your ender crystal down. It's best to have F3 plus B enabled. This shows the hitboxes of the entities, including the ender crystal. Now what you want to do is come in and use a piston to push the ender crystal. We want to align it up against this bedrock piece here, so we want to remove the obsidian piece below it because of the flame block on the ender crystal will cause it to explode. Then we can push in our ender crystal and line it up against this bedrock piece right here. Now from here we just have to come in and push the ender crystal upwards. So we get some pistons to have it being pushed upwards. One more piston there. Now the ender crystal will be pushed up into this bedrock piece here, which will allow it to take its flame block and destroy that bedrock piece right there. So you can see the ender crystal is now sitting right where this bedrock piece was, and it has removed this bedrock that was actually right here and replaced it with a flame block, but the flame block cannot be visually shown just because there's no block underneath it, but if you put a block underneath it, you can see the flame block, and that's what actually destroyed the bedrock piece there. So we can remove these two bedrock pieces as well by using that same method, and if you want to, you can remove these bedrock pieces, but they're not necessary. Now all you have to do, you can come in and build in your slime contraption here. All you need is the slime blocks as well as a piston. Now here you can see the bedrock was actually removed, but you can avoid actually having that bedrock being removed by just having your slime machine being moved over a little bit over here. So you can see that the same thing is as over here, except that we just have the piston over staggered over in this opening, so you don't actually have to remove that bedrock if you don't want to. If you want to maximize the use of your one entrance end portal, you can have a sand generator on each side of it. This way you have 4 sand generators. Now each of these sand generators can run on the same clock. That way they're putting all the materials in at one time instead of being staggered out like this one is. Now each of these machines have their own on and off switch. If you shut the machine off as the blocks are set onto this slime block right here, then they will not actually break the machine. So if we shut it off here, you can see that the machine is able to shut off without the blocks falling down. Now if you're in single player and you want to just get some sand duplicated, you can just sit here in the overworld. This way the overworld is loaded and your machine is running, and then the sand will fall into the end portal, and it will be able to stay as an entity saved over at the end dimension, even though the end won't be loaded. Now once you're ready in single player, you can just come and shut off the machine, and then once the machine is shut off, you can just go into your entrance end portal, and all the items that you have duplicated will be sitting here, and you can just pick them up. Now remember that if you run the machine too long, there'll be tons and tons of items here, and they may crash your game, so don't run it too long. The exit end portal works a little bit differently than the entrance end portal. So here, the items, when they get sent into the exit end portal, they'll be taken over into spawn and placed at the world spawn point. Now, spawn will be loaded every time an entity goes through, even on single player. And this way, the items that go through will actually be processed. So here, we just have the sand generator going on. Now, as soon as you're ready, you can actually have the machine shut off. And then, as in single player, you can go into here, and if you go to your spawn, right here, actually have a little thing set up here, where I just have some blocks placing around. This is the world spawn point where the sand will come be placed down. There's a button here which allows the sand to break off as an item, and we have a hopper here underneath that's just picking up the sand and gravel and stuff. So this is just a simple way to actually collect the items as you are in single player. That way you don't actually have to have any chunk loaders. Now if you want to automate this version of the sand generator in the end, you can do that as well. The way that you can do this, you can just see the sand is moving this direction. Just come in here and place down a hopper right here, and then place a button on top of it. And then if you remove all this and remove that block there, you can see that the sand will be shot off of the obsidian platform, and then it'll just be placed over here on top of this hopper and break on that button, and then you can collect it. Now if you have a sand generator on each side, you can just do this on each side by putting down the same thing, a hopper and a button, and you can collect all your sand as it gets shot off of the obsidian platform. Now if you want to get the maximum amount of sand generated per hour, use this design. This is based around an exit end portal. This is capable of producing up to 48,000 items per hour, and this is use of the exit end portal, but I removed some of the bedrock as well as some of the end portals here. So the exit end portal looked like this when I start with. Then you can remove these bedrock pieces by using that previous bedrock breaking method that I showed. Then if you wanted to remove these portal blocks here, all you have to do is use a bucket of liquid and then come in here and place it up against this bedrock here, and you can actually remove this portal block here. You use either water or lava. Then you can also come in here and remove this one too. Now that way you have all those blocks removed, and then you can also come in here and remove all the rest of this bedrock here, and that way you have a nice even surface to work with for your sand generator. Now if you would like to load your entrance end portal without a player, this way you can have your sand generator running all the time while you're playing in the game, or if you're on a server, you can actually have it running 24/7. I will link in the description to a video showing how you can actually load your entrance end portal, so it's an entity processing chunk, so all the items will actually be processed in that chunk. And then I'll also show you in the description as well as a link to a video where I actually show how you can load the end dimension. So that way when the items go into end dimension, they can also be processed, so that way they don't just build up, and that way you can actually store them inside of a chest. So I'll link both those videos in the description. That way you can actually run both these machines on server 24/7. You can get a lot of sand from that. A lot of people ask if they could see the process in which I use to actually build contraptions, and here I went into my creative world and just pasted in all the different designs that I was using to make that final design. So it started out with the concept. The concept was trying to push a falling block really close up to the exit portal without it going in, and only let the entity go in while the block be set here. And I tried a bunch of different heights where to set the block in. I put it like on top of this cobble wall, and then I push it, and then I would see if it would go in. Had a player over in the end dimension to see if it actually would duplicate, and tried a bunch of different you can see distances, and this distance here actually did work, where the block would be duplicated over into the end dimension as well as also being placed here. Now using that, I come over here and I try to automate it by not having the block having to be placed on top of the cobble wall, instead having the block being picked up by a piston. So that's what this here. I just had to pick up the piston and then push it in by using this slime block here. Now once that worked, I come over here and I tried a bunch of different designs. First I compacted it, then I came in and I tried to automate it more by having the items being cycled around. This is like a this is like 4 pistons which are supposed to cycle around the sand, so after it gets pushed in, this piston here is supposed to push the next sand up, something like that, but it wasn't quite automated enough. Then I tried compacting it a little bit more. Then I came in here and tried to, instead of using 2 pistons, just using 1 piston with a slime block. That way the piston would bring this sand block closer, and this piston with this slime block would bring it even closer over here, and then this piston would pick it up. That's what this does right here. It's just on a clock, and you can see it picks it up and moves it over, and this way you can recycle the same sand and keep generating more sand. Then all I did was add in a couple more of them. That way there's 3 of them. And this is pretty much almost the final design. I just came in here and built an individual clock, and that way you wouldn't have to run a clock on the side like this. And then you can just put in, 3 more of these, and it looks just like the other ones over there. It probably took about an hour or so to go from the starting point all the way to the finished product. The longest part was just this piece here, where I was just trying to figure out how to get the sand to duplicate as an entity as also as an item. So it took a lot of testing with different lengths, and I also was changing the length of the cobble wall as also changing the length of the slime blocks, seeing if I can get the perfect combination. If you would like to look at the world download of this world, I will link it in the description. But if you found this interesting, show me the like. If you'd like to see more contraptions like this, subscribe, and don't forget to comment. Bye bye!